Welcome to the original theory of conspiracy, the inside story. I've dusted off the old recordings for another look at some of my favourite conversations. I've also added fun facts, retrospective thoughts, as well as some insider knowledge on how we create each episode. In some cases, I've trimmed the episodes just to the core conversations. Don't worry, I've kept in all the funny bits like bloopers and some of that banter that we had. If you've listened to us before, I know that by the download figures that some episodes were definitely overlooked, so now's your chance to have another go around. If this is brand new, then welcome. I'm sure you'll find something you enjoy, but strap in for a bumpy ride. If you're wondering where all the other episodes went from seasons 1 and 2, well, unfortunately these needed to be archived due to hosting restrictions and to make room for new content. But you can still find most of our content on the YouTube channel, well, the ones that YouTube decided not to take down for censorship reasons. You'll also find some extra videos on there that were never turned into podcasts. If anyone wants to reach out to us, YouTube is probably the easiest way with a comment, as we no longer really monitor the other social media accounts. As always, I'd love to hear your feedback. So where do we start? It has to be at the beginning. This was our first attempt at a podcast, and this was the very first episode. The conversation was probably recorded late November, early December 2019. By the time we edited it, it was published on Christmas Eve 2019. It's probably the roughest audio quality, so they will get much better after this one. But remember, we were still learning, and I've done my best with the editing suite to make it as clear as possible. When we started out, there were 3 of us. I originally met Carlos through a mutual friend called Nick, and Carlos had been wanting to start a podcast for a few years. One day we all got together in my front room and we recorded this episode. I remember we were all sat there, each recording the separate audio tracks on our mobile phones, just wearing normal wired headphones. You can hear the crackle and pops as Nick and Carlos shuffle their wires. The COVID lockdown in 2020 turned out to be a blessing for the audio quality. I remember this particular recording was split over 2 different nights, and it was probably the only one that ever did that. On the first night we went down a rabbit hole with Nick trying to find these lost photos he remembers. We never found them. Maybe they were fakes, maybe they were taken down as some sort of clandestine cover-up, or maybe they're just false memories created by Nick. I know where my money's at. We chose a 911 conspiracy to start with, because for 18 years prior to this recording, Nick has sent me hundreds of conspiracy videos, and I've spent countless hours debunking and picking holes in each one. But the debate still continues to this day, no matter how many times I refute the conspiracy claims with peer-reviewed, repeatable scientific evidence or alternative plausibility, the conspiracies just keep coming. Okay, without further ado, let's kick this off.
Welcome to the Theory of Conspiracy. Don't adjust your headsets. You are listening to 3 northern lads from the UK discussing mainstream and non-mainstream conspiracy, talking about our own beliefs and challenging each other's.
Hi, I'm Nick and I'm the truther.
Hi, I'm Andy the Skeptic.
Hello, I'm Carlos. I believe.
Welcome to episode 1. For our first episode, we're going to cover the Pentagon missile theory. So it's quite well documented that at 9:37am on 9/11/2001, 51 minutes after the first plane hit the World Trade Center, the Pentagon was also attacked. Although dozens of witnesses saw a Boeing 757 hit the building, conspiracy advocates insist that it was a missile and not a plane that hit the Pentagon. Because 9/11 is so complex, today we're just going to discuss evidence directly relating to the Pentagon missile theory and Flight 77. To be honest, unlike the rest of the conspiracies surrounding 9/11, I thought that it was fairly much agreed that the missile theory was dead, but the two of you both err on the side of the missile rather than the plane. But I suppose once stuff's on the internet, it doesn't go away that easy. So there we are. So we're basically going to run through the aspects of the myth, why people think it's a missile or not. Hopefully we've all gone away and done our own research. I know I have. So I'm going to open it up to these two. So one of the first biggest elements of contention is the fact that it looks like a relatively small hole in the side of the Pentagon compared to the wingspan of a plane. I believe the hole was 75 feet. The wingspan of a 757 is 124 feet. So I'm going to open it to Nick. What's your thoughts on the hole size?
See, I don't like to get bogged down with details because I think there's as much misinformation out there as information. So, hole size, yeah, tricky. How does a 130-foot plane fit into a 75-foot hole? Tricky one. But that's kind of most of the damage you can see on the outside. I'm interested in the further damage that was on the inside. And also, when I looked at this years ago, there was a lot more pictures on the internet than there is now. It seems to be now there's only a few pictures, and you look at the pictures, you think, well, where's the other pictures? They must have taken a picture after that one, and a picture after that one, and a picture after that one, and a picture after that one. And they must have taken a whole load of pictures, and absolutely no pictures at all now I can find of the ring. What ring got hit? The E-ring got hit? So
yeah, it goes from the outside, doesn't it? Is it EDC?
EDC. So all we get to see is the picture all the time of one 12-foot, 16-foot, whatever you want the details to be, a hole on the inside of the C-ring. I want to see the hole on the other side of the C-ring, and I want to see the hole that's in the D-ring, both sides of the D-ring, before. Wow, I just wonder, why is that evidence not there? What are they hiding? Where has it gone? Why have they only shown us this one little hole and saying, look, this is what done it? Well, I want to see the rest. I've seen other pictures years ago. Yeah. That D-ring has got a big 30-foot hole on either side of it, and it's round. Yeah, it's like the hole in the C-ring, but bigger. And it's on both sides of that building. That's why I'm absolutely convinced that a missile done that damage. I've seen those round holes created before from missile damage. It's consistent with that. And I'm not going to be moved on that theory. Until I see this evidence of these buildings that look more like a plane's gone into it, then you won't shift me from the D-ring has got two round holes on either side of that building.
Okay, we just can't find any.
Because they've been taken off the internet, because they've been covered up. I've seen them years ago, that's why I'm convinced.
Go on, Carlos.
Yeah, do you think it was just echoed sort of Nick's thoughts on there? Because I've done the same. I think me and Nick are sort of singing from the same hymn sheet. I've looked at many YouTube clips, I've looked at things from David Icke and even other podcasts, and there's two things where we can't explain. Things like the missile, because I'm not a military expert, I'm not a bomb expert. All I'll be able to put forward to is what's a certain journalist or a certain ex-military person's put forward, but I don't know if they've got a hidden agenda or they're told to put this information out. But there is some key elements where Nick alluded to before, which I'd like to add on to it, is where there's certain people have been saying it sounded more like a bomb. Obviously, I know a plane coming down would sound like a bomb, but these people are trained to know the difference between a bomb and a jet coming down. But also, they were looking at things like the smell, the smoke, the whole aura of what was happening. A lot of the people saying it's like being in a war. You know, so it's like a bomb had gone off or like a missile had gone off. No once did they actually say, that's a jet or that's a plane that's come down. And but these people they're not like you and I. These people are trained. These are coming from the Pentagon themselves. These have probably had military action.
I think the Pentagon is also full of just a lot of office workers.
Yes, the lady that I'm talking about, the witness to hearing the explosion and not smelling any jet fuel, she's an office worker in the Pentagon.
I've heard the exact same statement, and I think we've strayed straight into the witnesses, which we'll end up coming back to. But as soon as we're talking about it, I've heard the exact same statement, and I've also heard the fact that these witnesses you were talking about, where they were sat in the building, they were not in a position to see or hear the plane. Obviously, they heard the explosion because that was the loudest thing that happened.
Yeah, I don't know where she was.
You know? and again, you don't know where she was in the building. So these people, these things you've heard and seen, I think they all come back to the loose change video, which is literally a 2-hour video of eyewitness accounts taken out of context and just chopped up for sound bites, basically. But coming back just to the hole then, do you have a problem that the hole is only 75 foot wide when the plane is 124 foot wide? Is that evidence that it wasn't a plane?
Obviously the size of the plane. Obviously, there's no footage of the physical plane actually going into the building.
Yeah.
You've got it's just the. I understand that if, say, for example, it is a plane, the plane could have impacted the ground literally 200-300 meters before the building, and it could have ricocheted.
Even
it could
10 feet before
10
the
feet.
building,
It could have ricocheted and bits flying into the wall. But obviously, the pictures I've seen online, could they be manipulated? Could they be in photoshopped? Maybe, but it doesn't look like a jet's gone into. Like I say, because I've seen a few pictures online, which I've seen pictures of buildings like a church or other buildings what being bombed. It's consistent of a bomb going into it. Like I said, I'm not a bomb expert, but it's consistent. They all mirror image each other as like an impact from a bomb.
There definitely was explosion, so you are going to see similar things to explosive damage, without a doubt, because setting off an airplane full of fuel is going to cause an explosion, isn't it?
There's an ignition somewhere.
Okay, so anyway, I thought you might have more of an issue with the small hole. So I did a bit of research into it. There's a guy called Mete Sozin, who was a professor of structural engineering at Purdue University, who specialises in the behaviour of concrete buildings. A quote from him is, "Crashing a jet doesn't punch a cartoon-like outline of itself into the concrete building." And some of the YouTube videos I looked at from the missile angle, that was what they were proposing. Why can you not see the shape of the wings? Why can't you see the tail hit the building? So the next one, the actual airplane debris. For me, a quick Google image search brought up tons of images.
I've got a couple of pictures where they show them from a distance where the building's burning, but they don't see any aircraft anywhere. It's just like, and this is quite early into the actual devastation, and there's no plane wreckage. Clearly, a plane wreckage, a lot of things would incinerate. I'm not stupid. If somebody hits at 500 miles an hour into the ground, there's going to be, like you said, a huge explosion. But I'm expecting to see, I know I'm going to digress, but we just had that missile in Iran, and there's wreckage everywhere. But here, there's not much wreckage anywhere.
If that fell from 8,000 feet, it's going to spread wreckage over 5 miles. This went into the side of a reinforced concrete building.
No, but
specifically reinforced to protect against a bomb attack.
No, but in Iran, there's lots of debris in Iran. There isn't a lot of debris. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
In
Iran,
they're not showing us any pictures of it. It's all just turned to liquid.
I can see loads of bits of airplane.
It's usually the same 4 or 5 pictures rehashed in different angles.
So not only is there the images that I found on the internet of plane wreckage, seat belts,
Suppose it.
Okay, you probably think it's planted. I've heard that the people planted it to make it look like a plane.
I'll be interested to see the pictures.
Okay, all right. But there's also physical evidence such as the lamppost damage. So the first lamppost that fell hit a taxi. There's a picture on the internet of the lamppost and the taxi with the taxi damage, with the Pentagon in the background. There's the generator damage. There's pictures of the generator. And from what I see, when you look at the generator, you can see in the top left corner, you can see a circular chunk out of it, where as the planes hit it, it's the engine has basically clipped it. It pushed the generator back, and it's took the top corner of this generator that was sitting just outside the Pentagon. So there was that, but there were also 4 other lampposts that were knocked down by the wingtips of the plane as it was coming in. If it was a missile, that missile would have had to zigzag between lampposts to take them down.
The missile was delivered by a plane. That's why eyewitnesses seen a plane.
So the plane that fired the missile had to be flying at 20 feet high.
Well, if you look at the flight recorder data, it probably was.
So a missile hit the Pentagon, but also a plane hit the Pentagon. That's what you're saying now?
No, the plane delivered the missile. That's what I've always said. The plane delivered the missile. So
a plane hit 5 lampposts,
potentially,
and it hit a generator, and in the last 3 feet...
Well, I don't know if the plane hit the generator.
Okay, so it hit 5 lampposts, launched a missile and then pulled up, and no one saw the plane fly over the building.
I think people did, but I wasn't there, so I don't know. I'll have to...
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's potential. So, I've also seen conspiracy theories that say that the fucking lampposts were knocked down after the event. Those crazy motherfuckers are everywhere. I don't particularly agree with that one.
That's the thing. That's the bit I don't have an explanation. What you're saying is obviously a good question, but I've seen probably the same videos as Nick's seen where a plane has delivered the missile, and they could have literally after the event, because to backtrack, obviously, if you want to leave the perfect crime, you need to leave fingerprints. And obviously, you need to leave a footprint. You need to leave a paper trail.
I think there's so much misinformation out there.
That's the thing.
To say that somebody's come along after the event while we can see the building there on flame still and gone and fucking knocked over these lampposts seems a bit woo-woo to me. But it's just too much shit out there. As far as I'm concerned, it's fishy as fuck.
I do believe a plane did deliver a missile. What happened to that plane, I do not know. But I do believe a missile was delivered. A plane did deliver a missile.
Well, maybe if there was video footage of the crash, which is our next point.
It was some pretty accurate flying as well, because I think it landed smack on where it wanted to land.
Anyway, back to video footage then. So, go on, Carlos. You go first. Where do you stand on the actual video footage? Lack of the 5 frames that they released.
The 5 frame out of if it's 85, 86 cameras and there's 5 frames. I understand this positioning because not all 85 cameras. Correct me if it was 85 or 86 cameras. Actually, and not everyone. Some were painted to the back, some were pointed to the front, the side, up and above, everywhere. But to have 5 or 6 frames, it just shows. Like if you look on somebody's CCTV, if someone's house gets burgled, they'll present more than 5 frames to the police officer. I just find that this building is the most protected building probably on the planet, and it can only show 5 frames. There's other evidence where was eyewitnesses and people who worked in gas stations where their video evidence was confiscated.
Yeah.
It could be they could be lying, they could be making up, but a lot of them, it's not just one, there's quite several people who worked in supermarkets where their CCTV was instantly confiscated by the FBI. So that raises red flags for me. If it I think we talked about it previously before, where why not just the government, American government, just give all the video footage, probably could be 2, 3, 4 terabytes worth of information. If you want to download it, download it. If not, don't bother. Yeah. And then it eradicates everything. Just to release 4 or 5 frames or 6 frames, it's still you sort of you still tease us with questions. That's the bit I ask. So 86 cameras
on the video evidence. I don't think they've submitted anything that proves a plane hit the building. To be fair, I would think if it was a plane that hit there, they would have more evidence than they have shown at the moment for a plane hitting. Yeah. Building. Inside the building, there's going to be seats and everything everywhere. There should be bits and pieces that have not turned to liquid that are on some of these videos or tapes that they have not released.
Cool. So I had a little look for. Well, obviously, I watched the video footage they released. It's it's on there on YouTube. Loads of people have done different things with it. I did find out that in 2006. Through Freedom of Information Acts, the FBI actually did release the footage from the gas station and the Doubletree Hotel. I've not seen them, but I do believe that I think the gas station one, it was just pointed in the wrong angle, so you wouldn't have seen anything anyway. And the hotel one, it wasn't high detail enough. All you could see was apparently just a ball of fire and the burning in the back. It was that far away. But that footage was released.
I find it quite convenient that they've released it 5 years later and to prove, it doesn't show anything. But we've kept it for 5 years.
They released it because of a Freedom of Information Act. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. By keeping things down, like I just said, they must have 2 or 3 terabytes worth of information. They'll say, this is the website we've created. Download it all if you want.
Why 2006 anyway? People were submitting them for Freedom of Information Acts on day one.
Don't you think it's coincidental that this is the most protected building in the world, and we can only find 5, 6 frames? Do you not find that as a red flag? If I said to you, this is the most important house on this street, and this house got burgled, and we just got a picture of the front gate, you think, why haven't we got the back gate, the front gate, the top of the roof? There must be a red flag there. There must be a red flag. I'm not saying
there might be 86 cameras in the vicinity, but they're all pointing at certain aspects. They're pointing at the carport. The garage ones will be pointing at the forecourt because they want to get license plates. Make sure people aren't up to no good near flammable fuels. The one in the hotel, again, is probably pointing at the hotel grounds. Then the cameras aren't all set up to scan the skies for planes heading towards the building. So if we can't rely on the video footage,
no,
got to get some eyewitnesses, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, so there were over 130 eyewitnesses that saw the plane hit the Pentagon. If anything, the large amount of witnesses has probably added inconsistency to the evidence. For example, some people saw a plane fly on the north side of the gas station. Some people saw the plane fly on the south side of the gas station. The official story from the Pentagon building report was that the plane passed on the south side of the gas station. But I think that inconsistency is understandable when you're interviewing people from the general public, because estimating distances of an object in the sky that's not passing between any physical landmarks is very difficult, because it's all on your perception of how big that a plane should appear at this distance away. However, one thing in all the statements have in common is they saw a plane and not a missile, and that includes Sergeant Brooks and Sergeant Lagasse, who insist the plane flew on the south side of the gas station, which according to the official flight plan that was published, it didn't fly on the south side. It was on the north side. Yet, even in his own statement, Sergeant Lassosse even manages to misremember the position of his own squad car on the day by 20 feet or something.
Humans are highly unreliable witnesses.
Exactly.
I wouldn't put any credit on any human witness.
I do agree with you. However, there's a big difference between I saw a missile and I saw a plane.
You mentioned 136 passenger people, eyewitnesses. I remember come back to an article I come across. 39 people could see it, and only 26 identified it as an American airline. So that means over 100 didn't know what it was.
No, they knew it was a plane. They just didn't know it was an American Airlines plane.
It could have been a plane there. I'm not denying there was a plane there.
Right.
And you know what? The plane could have went into the building as well. Yeah, I've not got a problem with that. I just have a problem with the damage I've seen that's not consistent with a plane crash. And just the fact that it managed to hit this building, it just doesn't add up to me. It hit this building with pinpoint accuracy in a space it should never have been, and it was in that space for long enough for the Americans to shoot it out of the sky. They've got weapons all around this city.
There's when you look into the black box flight recording, there's a video online that I watched in preparation for this podcast, and it's got the chatter from the air traffic control. He's talking to the pilot of Flight 77, and all of a sudden the pilot stops talking to him, and that's when they lose contact with the flight, because obviously it's been hijacked at that point. But you then hear the chatter between him and the military pilots trying to catch the plane, and they were just too far away. They just couldn't get there in time to do anything about it.
Eyewitnesses, sometimes you can be brainwashed into telling, so you did see American Airline. So you actually seen it flying. So people say, yes, I did see that. I did see, yeah, that's what I saw. Yeah, I did see that. That's the bit where I do believe there was a craft, a plane, and I do believe that plane delivered the missile. That's the bit when it starts going sketchy. It's just the eyewitnesses, the camera frames, the whole day was just so crazy. So it's just so many coincidences for this to go. It's like the perfect crime. And 19 years later, we're still talking about it.
So Nick, I've got a question for you. That plane, was that Flight 77? Was it a hijacked plane, Flight 77, with passengers on board, with missile capabilities?
We'll never know. It could have been Flight 77. It could have been an aircraft made up to look like Flight 77. I personally don't know any or of anybody of the passengers who were on that plane, so I don't know if there was passengers on that plane. I'm happy.
There's documented evidence that all the passengers that boarded that plane went missing, and that plane went missing.
Lots of documents can be fake.
Yeah, but they could have been taken out earlier.
They may never have existed.
Airlines have reported 2 missing planes and obviously missing passengers. But it doesn't mean that they could have been driven into the actual building. They could have been taken out earlier and another plane took over.
But
with
I have no qualms
missiles.
in believing that if this was an inside job, that they would sacrifice another whatever many lives were on that plane if that's what they needed to do. Take control of that passenger plane and slam it into the building if that's what they had to do.
So where does the missile come into it?
The plane could have been carrying a missile.
A passenger plane carrying a missile.
Could have been a missile. Could have had one in the hole. In the hole could have been a big fuck-off missile that was just due to go off when they told it.
So if a plane hit the building, then why is everyone saying it's a missile?
I'm saying it's a missile because of the damage I've seen to the inner rings.
And the debris.
And the
evidence.
And just
the
sheer
eyewitness
position
and
of the flying, that it's not hit the ground before he's hit this fucking thing. It's just the whole thing reeks of, well done, chaps.
So the conspiracy has changed from was it a missile and not a plane to it was a plane but there was a missile on the plane.
I think the conspiracy for me has always been the fact that it looks dodged that they've slammed that big plane into that smaller space, and it looks dodged that the damage I've seen to the D's and the C ring is not consistent with what they're saying. And now I can't even find the evidence
of it
anymore. So I've got good memory seeing those pictures, and whether my memory's making it up or not, I now wonder why those pictures don't exist anyway. That shows the rest of the damage to the rest of the building.
Listen, can I talk about Loose Change?
I watched it, but I've sort of my head's gone a bit pickled.
So there's a number of versions out there when I googled it, and I know.
Yeah, I watched the one on Netflix. So if it's the one on Netflix,
when's the last time you watched it instead of just looking at an article that debunks it?
About 3 days ago, because I was determined to watch.
Watch the whole thing?
No, I didn't watch the whole thing because I had lack of time. But I knew.
Wait, in there, you must have seen the guy that was in the bunker with Dick.
No, I just
You've
found the bit that was poignant to what we're talking about today. Okay.
And was there not a guy in there that said he'd seen a plane fly away?
No, I couldn't find him. I have looked everywhere. I have looked everywhere for that clip where you said, "Or saw a plane take off vertically after launching a missile or whatever." Whoosh. Looked everywhere for that. I cannot find it anywhere, Nick.
I mean, I did this more than 10 years ago. Last time I looked at this.
So Loose Change, I did want to talk about it because I watched it in preparation. I watched part of it in preparation for this. I searched through for the bit about 9/11.
The Pentagon.
So, just for the listeners, if they don't know what Loose Change is, it's one of the most popular conspiracy videos online.
I don't think it's that popular now.
You don't think it's popular now? I think
it
was in the day, but there's now several versions of it online or on YouTube. But they're all a blizzard of statistics, photographs, documents, eyewitness accounts, and supposedly expert testimony. The original video was created by a guy called Corey Rowe, Dylan Avery, and it was actually started. So Dylan actually started writing Loose Change as a fictional screenplay, which was based around discovering that 9/11 was an inside job. So he started to create the video as a fictional screenplay, him and his mate, for literally just using a laptop, barely any money, and he was just scavenging the internet for footage. So what do you think about that? The fact that it was...
I think it's good.
The fact that it was a fictional screenplay.
I have a problem with that. Everybody's mind changes. It's good to have a concept.
Right.
You've got to start somewhere.
So my problem...
Did he say it ended with a fictional screenplay?
No, that's how he started. That's how they started to put the video. So my problem
They could have started it, yeah.
My problem with Loose Change is... It feels like
commercial venture.
It feels like circumstantial evidence.
Which bit?
All the bits that they throw at it. So the so-called facts they present to you, there's no actual analysis, documentation of those facts, any scientific testing.
Which fact?
Any of the facts that they quote at you in the video. They quote hundreds at you.
Not one. Not one of the stuff they mentioned in that video is true.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, there's no analysis of that fact once they say it. They spurt a fact at you, and they carry on and they do the next one. There's no documentation. There's no scientific testing. There's just quotes and quotes and quotes taken out of context from just like the scattered testimony of traumatized eyewitnesses. And one of the big ones, and I think this is where this theory came from, one of the biggest...
What theory? The missile?
The theory of the missile. So where I think the source of this, the whole missile conspiracy is...
Putting aside the pictures I think I've seen.
Yeah, right. This is where I think it came from, and then all the other stuff has been filtered in. Pictures and blah blah blah. This is where I think it came from. On the day before anyone had time to take any pictures, because it was still on fire, there was a guy called Mike Walter, and he was interviewed, and he says this, right, and this is in Loose Change, or the version of Loose Change I saw. I saw this plane, a jet, American Airlines jet, coming. It didn't add up. It was like a cruise missile with wings, right? And that I have seen shortened to it was like a cruise missile with wings. And they've even cut the bit out about it mentioned it's an American Airlines. Now, I will put this in as Exhibit 99 or whatever number we're on now, right? But I will link to this. So I'm going to link the original unedited video of Mike Walter, which was taken off like the news. And I'm going to also give you a video of Mike Walter himself that he put out a few years afterwards, because he was constantly getting contacted by people saying, "Oh, you said this about a missile and blah blah blah. Can you give me this? Can you?" And basically, in the video, he just wants to he says, "I want to settle the record straight." He's fed up with people twisting his words, taking what he said out of context. And there's even a quote where he says, "If you're getting to the internet for information, make sure you're getting the right information, and keep an open mind, but always try and get the facts." And I think they're two great quotes for him.
Did he say that he didn't see the cruise missile anymore?
He's saying he never saw a cruise missile.
He's no more reliable than any of the other 120 odd eyewitnesses, right? And he's only described what he's seen. Fair enough. He's saying it.
I'm not saying this. I'm not saying
this.
this. This is not evidence for. This is not evidence against. This is where I think the missile conspiracies come from.
Well, it's not for me because I've seen the holes.
He said
more
that.
Than I've seen
No, he said that on day one.
Mm.
Right, you saw the holes years later. He said that on day one before anyone had seen any holes. Right, because the building was still on fire. No one saw no holes at this point. But then he got misquoted. And then there was another guy on the internet that was being interviewed, and he mistakenly said missile instead of airplane, and they've latched onto that, and they've taken these two things, and someone's run with it and gone, I'm going to make, intentionally or not, oh, these guys are saying it's a missile, maybe it's a missile. They've started to look for any evidence that will fit their missile theory, and I believe that's where the theories come from. You, years later, have then seen stuff that's been pre-prepared for you. This is why we think it was a missile. Yeah, so Carl's then, right, after everything we've talked about tonight, what do you think happened in terms of on that day? What happened in your mind? Was it a plane? Was it a missile? Was it a mixture? Go for it.
I still think there's a plane delivered the missile. The day itself is a complete mystery. There's too many coincidences for this to be one big coincidences, or things like obviously we're not digressing, but things what happened at the Twin Towers, Building 7, Larry Silverstein taking in terrorist insurance out a couple of months before it went down. There's too many things that happened on that day for it to be just to be swept under the carpet. But to summarise what happened on that day, I do think a plane did deliver the missile. I do not believe a plane actually landed or hit the actual Pentagon building.
Nick, so same question to you. What just the Pentagon itself? What do you think? What do you think? What's your best case? What happened? What happened on that day?
What happened on that day was the Pentagon was attacked by a combination of plane and missile.
Right.
And for me, there's never been proper public inquiries about any of the events in America surrounding any of those incidents. So, for me, if they didn't have anything to hide, they would have had public inquiries by now. And all they've done is quash every request for one.
All right. So for me, I think that Flight 77 was known to have gone missing. the wreckage of Flight 77 was found at the Pentagon. The damage was consistent to a plane strike, according to engineers. And I think that if conspirators went to the level of effort to create the illusion that a plane had crashed into the Pentagon, then why the need to use a missile at all? Why, even if you're taking your view, Nick, if you have a missile on the plane that hits the Pentagon, why do you need that? You're already hitting it with a plane.
Plenty of stuff could survive a plane strike.
Okay.
Plenty of bits and pieces, but you fire in there a high energy weapon, nothing survives. It breaks everything up to molecules.
I'm going to end on that quote with you saying high molecules thing. Right, so you've listened to the podcast all the way through and you're still here, and if you want to have a look at some of the stuff we said we'd share on social media, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. It's at TheoConPod. That's at TheoConPod.